Attorney General Jeff Sessions recently indicated that he would not be cracking down on states with recreational marijuana after all, and he says that this is because the Justice Department simply doesn't have the funds needed to enforce federal prohibition laws. Now, I thought that that was relatively persuasive. I thought that that was probably part of the reason why he decided to back off, but I also thought that it was because, if you decide to take on marijuana, this is just an uphill political battle. And this is because, according to Pew Research Center, they found that 57% of Americans, that's a majority, supports the legalization of recreational marijuana. And when you break it down demographically, a majority of all generations, with the exception of respondents from the silent generation, want marijuana to be legalized. So by and large, Americans just don't buy into this notion that marijuana is dangerous, and it's time that we remove it, or at least reclassify it, from the Controlled Substances Act. Now, I thought that that was part of Jeff Sessions' explanation as to why he didn't want to take on marijuana. However, he may be more clueless than I initially thought. I think I was giving him too much credit by thinking that he didn't want to take on this political battle, because according to him, he's surprised with how much Americans love their marijuana. The Washington Times explains Attorney General Jeff Sessions on Tuesday said he's surprised Americans aren't overwhelmingly embracing his widely reported stance against marijuana. All the while, recent polling reveals a majority of voters do in fact support legal pot. When they nominated me for Attorney General, you would have thought the biggest issue in America was when I said I don't think America is going to be a better place if they sell marijuana at every corner grocery store, Mr. Sessions told attendees. People didn't like that. I'm surprised they didn't like that, he added. You were surprised by that, Jeff? Really? If you honestly are telling me that you were surprised by that, you are more out of touch than any of us could have ever imagined. Because, public support, even if you don't look at a single poll with respect to marijuana legalization, you can just gauge the momentum for it when you look at the states. They're falling one by one like dominoes. You started with Colorado and the state of Washington. They legalized recreational marijuana in 2012. 2 years later, Oregon, Alaska, more states fell. Now, California, Washington, D.C. legalized marijuana. And this doesn't even take into account the trends when it comes to medical marijuana. The American people don't like being told what to do. And if you're conservative, if you're in favor of liberty, and you constantly talk about this big government boogeyman, then shouldn't it just be a no-brainer that you're in favor of marijuana legalization? It makes no sense to me that conservatives consistently take the stance that is anti-marijuana. Times are changing and society is leaving Jeff Sessions behind, but as someone who is a representative, he was a senator, so he was a representative of a large number of people. So he has a duty. It's incumbent on him to keep his finger on the pulse of America. You should know where the American people are headed in terms of policy. So to say that you were surprised is idiotic. Your fear-mongering over marijuana does not resonate with people. The days of reefer madness are long gone. This is not a time when the American people will just believe any and everything that the government tells them. We are in the age of information. The internet exists. We've all smoked pot. We know it doesn't kill you. And if you're against it, that's fine. But if you don't support the right of citizens to smoke pot, then you don't get to call yourself a small government conservative. You don't get to call yourself a champion of freedom, regardless if you come from the left or the right. So the fact is that marijuana will be legal in all 50 states one day. It's just a matter of time. You see, every couple of years, more and more states hold referendums and they get approved. And that's going to happen even in Jeff Sessions' state. It's going to happen. So, regardless if you don't want to accept it, marijuana will one day be sold at grocery stores. And if you truly are against marijuana, you should be thankful, because that will make it more difficult for children and minors to get marijuana. So Jeff Sessions is someone who is so out of touch with the American people that he should be embarrassed. The fact that he would admit that he was surprised by that, it's crazy to me. At least if you're that out of touch, just say, look, I know that, I may be an old timer and I'm out of touch with a lot of youngsters nowadays, but I don't think marijuana is something that we should be promoting. At least say that. But I mean, you're surprised that we're not with you on your bullshit, archaic stance on marijuana. It's marijuana. So the fact that you're surprised, Jeff, is it just speaks to how out of touch you really are with the American people. You should be embarrassed. You really should be embarrassed because, do you not look at the trends in the country? Do you not pay attention to elections? Do you not watch the news? How isolated are you that you don't know that your idiotic comments about legalized marijuana wouldn't play well with a majority of Americans?
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.